I often contemplate the meaning of death and what it means. This is basically because I have no hobbies and I need to do something fun with my life. Basically, this idea that life ends, this makes us do things differently. And in this video, I want to explore this joyful concept of death and total oblivion, so it's going to be a very uplifting video. And I'll also try to make the case that we might just have a real shot at immortality. So if you like this video, make sure to hit that like button for the YouTube algorithm, hit it like it owes you money, and let's get into our topic. As far as we know, we are the only species that is painfully aware of its mortality. Even if you don't think about this all the time, there are moments when we question our existence. What is this all for? Is there a meaning to this? Is life just passing me by? And we try to find ways to deal with it. Ernest Becker said that by engaging in immortality projects, we manage to deal with the anxiety of death. And he tells us, man's tragic destiny, he must desperately justify himself as an object of primary value in the universe. He must stand out, be a hero, make the biggest possible contribution to the world life, show that he counts more than anything or anyone else. In a way, we want to know that our existence was not meaningless. We try to find ways to not be forgotten. So, what precisely can this immortality formula be then? As far as we know, no one has found the mythical fountain of youth yet. Nevertheless, there is a way. I think that the only tangible immortality for us for now is a symbolic one, and it can be found in your name, in your potential legend, the myth of you. If you basically find a way to make your name bulletproof, then that's a real chance at immortality. Think for a second about all the great names in world history. Julius Caesar, Alexander the Great, Genghis Khan, Napoleon, Gandhi. Their names are still spoken today. Through the lives that they lived, they managed to secure a place in our collective memory and thus become immortal. It's worth noting that very few people actually reached this level of notoriety of a Napoleon or a Gandhi. The odds are very much against us for this one. However, to increase your odds at a more tangible immortality, you can think about this notion of circles of influence. And I'll talk about that more in a later video. But in short, is in a way copying what Gandhi did. And that is to live your life in such a way that you become a role model, an example for those around you in an ever-expanding circle of influence. Fundamentally, leading by example, but starting small. Starting, for example, with your family, then your extended family, then maybe your community, your region, your country, and finally, collective human consciousness. The more value you can bring, the bigger your name, and the bigger your circle of influence, and the longer you stay in this collective memory. Basically, even starting small is enough. Up to a certain number of generations, your immortality can be tied to how good you are as a person and the value that you bring to those in your proximity. In Mexican tradition, there is this fascinating concept that there are 3 types of deaths. The first one is when you first realize that you are mortal. The second one is when you actually die. And the third one, and the most interesting, the last time someone says your name. For example, I come from a small village, and a few names from the past are still offered today as examples. No one has heard of them outside of our village, but these people within these narrow sets of boundaries meant something. They imprinted on the people that came after them, and their story imprinted on the people who listened to it, and their name is still alive to this day. George Eliot, which is the pen name of this lovely lady, told us, "Our dead are never dead to us until we have forgotten them." Therefore, remembering someone, a dead family member, for example, is a beautiful and poetic way of keeping them alive. So, how will you live as to not be forgotten? That's a big question. Is it through the strength of your character, the kindness of your soul, the beauty of your mind? What can be the myth of you that gets passed down generation after generation? And what's cool is that what is true for a name, it's even more powerful when it comes to an idea. Some ideas appear to be indestructible, exempt from oblivion. They take hold of us, they mesmerize us, they become parts of the fabric of our very existence, and thus they change us in the process. Legends, myths, gods, religions appeared for the first time with the cognitive revolution. Many animals and human species could previously say something like, "Careful, a lion." But thanks to the cognitive revolution, Homo sapiens acquired the ability to say, "The lion is the guardian spirit of our tribe." This ability to speak about fictions is the most unique feature of sapiens' language. These fictions that Yuval Harari is referring to are money, nation-states, corporations, communism, democracy, capitalism, religions, etc. These are all social constructs. Imagined realities, or simply put, intersubjective realities, real because we choose to believe in them. You see, ideas are no laughing matter. Ideas built the world around us. Ideas are very powerful. You fight for your ideas. You fight for your point of view. You take sides. In some cases, you die for your ideas and ideals. You become too attached to them and defend them no matter what. I've been always fascinated about this concept, and here's a potential reason why we do this. It comes from Ernest Becker that said, "Today we know that people try so hard to win converts for their point of view because it's more than merely an outlook on life. It is an immortality formula. Basically, you find your identity in that idea, and the death of that idea is a symbolic death of you. It's a symbolic death of all the time that you invested in it. So you fight to keep it alive, so you stay alive." Which brings us to a remarkable situation. In most cases, the name and the idea merge. They become indistinguishable from one another. In other words, the name is the idea. One of my favorite lines that illustrates this comes from V for Vendetta. In this scene, V is fighting the antagonist, and the antagonist shot V a couple of times and then gets close to V and asks, "I shot you, so why won't you die?" And V answers, "Behind this mask, there is more than just flesh. Behind this mask, there is an idea, Mr. Creedy, and ideas are bulletproof." V is the main character in this graphic novel by Alan Moore, and V in this case symbolizes the defiance against the government in the name of civil rights. He symbolizes revolution. So he basically positions himself in order to be an idea. But now think about all the great names in history. Most probably they are synonymous with their ideas. For example, Charles Darwin is synonymous with the theory of evolution by natural selection, Einstein with his special and general relativity, Marie Curie, she looks radiant as always, and of course Seneca or Marcus Aurelius with Stoic philosophy, and so on and so forth. For example, who doesn't know what Jesus, Muhammad, or Buddha stand for? In art, even more poetically, people become their craft, a point magnificently mentioned in the series Westworld. When Dr. Robert, played by Anthony Hopkins, says, "An old friend once told me something that gave me great comfort, something that he had read. He said that Mozart, Beethoven, and Chopin never died. They simply became music." And I think that Benjamin Franklin summed it up well when he wrote, "If you would not be forgotten as soon as you are dead and rotten, either write things worth reading or do things worth writing." In other words, live in such a way that you either become the name or you become the idea, or both. And that's a real shot at immortality.